good Thursday evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with you. We're grateful to have you on this Thursday night, the 20th day of February. 1 month. 1 month of MAGA. Make America Great Again. And the popcorn is out. Schiff and Patel is in tonight. Terror attack averted in Tel Aviv, at least for now. Israel mourns their dead tonight. And a lot of other things. We've got an interview coming up here in about 3 minutes with Gidon Ariel tonight. We're going to have Bill Federer. But with today's events, I reached out to Gidon this morning and asked him would he come on. We had to interview him this afternoon. They're 9 hours ahead of us in Israel. Or 7, I should say. It's already 3 in the morning there. He was so gracious to do that. And we're going to play you that interview here in just a minute. And then we're going to have James Akers come on the phone with us a little bit later tonight again because the news tonight out of Tel Aviv, there's been 3 bus explosions with nobody in them that were destined or was set to go off in the morning. The timers got messed up. These Hamas terrorists, thank God that they're a bunch of dumb blanks, but anyway, somebody in the Hamas thinking, instead of putting AM on the timer, put PM. So they went off around 9 p.m. Israeli time, PM instead of 9 a.m., and that would have meant hundreds of civilians would have been killed in the morning. James had sent me a message this afternoon and said he had gotten word from the security sources that they had planned another October 7th type event tomorrow. Still may try something, who knows. But this tonight did not help their cause, and we're going to have him talk about that and some other things. We got some videos to show you tonight. We're going to be here a while with you tonight on this Thursday night. We'll take your questions, and I just want to say thank you all for being with us tonight. And it's been a very, very sad day. There's a couple of house cleaning issues I want to take care of before we start tonight. We mentioned something Monday night about Ilhan Omar. We played a video, and I'm going to have to do a better job of watching the timestamp on these videos. It was actually, that video was from 2022. I don't know if Char's out there. She pointed that out, and I thought the video was from this week, and the gentleman that posted it had actually put a timestamp of this week on it, but it was really 22. And X is really bad about that. People are posting these videos as if it's current news. That's my fault, and we apologize for the confusion. That did happen in 22. She's off the Senate Intel Committee. She's about to be out the Senate, period. A representative of the House, not the Senate, but the House Intelligence Committee. She's going to be out of the House soon, probably in more ways than one. I'm going to say a few things about Schiff and Patel, and I'll save my fire for later because we'll have an end of the show monologue tonight, not a start. There is not only a new sheriff in D.C. at the White House, but there's a new sheriff at the FBI tonight. And if I'm Adam Schiff, I'm lawyering up. If I'm these corrupt FBI agents that went to Mar-a-Lago and basically did some terrible things to that man right there and his family, I'm lawyering up tonight. Get ready. The Epstein list is about to be released. Get ready. You're about to see a lot of things released. This is why they hated him. 51 to 49, 51-47 today. I don't know if 2 senators just wasn't there and didn't vote. I know that Murkowski and Collins voted no. Mitch McConnell voted yes, of all things, and there's news with him tonight. He's announced he's not running for re-election. I can hear the cheers all the way here from Kentucky tonight. But you just got to make sure that whoever you put in his place is not going to be Mitch the second. And so you Kentuckians, you can do better than Mitch McConnell, but you don't need to hire and put somebody back in there that's just like him. President Trump can only do so much as that Congress lets him, and these congressional races have become very, very key. Bill Federer was going to talk about that, and but tonight it's just about Israel, and I want to talk about that with you. The other news story, again, that I mentioned tonight, that it is being reported tonight that Hamas actually did not release the body of the mother of these two precious babies. We had the picture up this morning on our Bible study, and it was gut-wrenching to even see the images of these children right there. But there's the mother there, and it's basically being reported tonight. This is from Aviv Mayor. This was, I think, yesterday or late yesterday. But the bodies of Ariel and Kifi, the boss, have been definitely identified. They were murdered in captivity. They will be laid to rest in their homeland. May their memories be a blessing. The third body does not belong to their mother, Shiri. It does not match any known hostage. That was 19 hours ago. So it's evident that evidently she is still in the hands of Hamas. Her body is. Now, with these terrorists, they could be lying. For all we know, she could be alive. And there's a developing story about the husband tonight that he put out a video condemning Israel, claiming that and Hamas put it out that they were killed in an Israeli airstrike in 23, and Israel hid it. They knew about it. They didn't tell him. And it's just, to me, I've talked to Ruth Landy Wasserman about it tonight. You know, she's not really commented officially, but unofficially, it's propaganda. We talked to Gidon about this, which we're about to play this interview. You'll hear him talk about it as well. So I'm going to get right to this interview. It's about a 30-minute interview. It's not long, but it's going to keep you tied to your seats. And then right after that, I'm going to call Jeemes. We're going to talk about all this, play some video tonight. So if you have some popcorn, get it ready. So we're going to be with you a little bit tonight. We'll be back here tomorrow night, Lord willing. And what we try to finish up tonight, we will tomorrow. But listen, we love you all tonight. Our prayers for these families. Look, I want to just say this, and I said it this morning pretty strongly on the Bible study. I'm going to say it again tonight on my regular show. You must be a cold, callous, non-human being not to have empathy for that family and these babies. And if you can look me in the eye and tell me that this is not evil, what Hamas did, and yet you blame Israel. And I would say this to the husband tonight, even if that video is real, which I don't think it was, I think it was coerced. But if that is his feeling, he needs to turn his anger to the people that did this, not his own government. His own government did not kidnap his two daughters and slaughter them in cold blood. Hamas did. And to the anti-Semites tonight, you know, this show gets in a lot of trouble. I'm no fan of this pastor, but I'll just say that there was a pastor in my state that went out today and he made a pro-Israel statement and he got hammered by Stu Peters, the biggest anti-Semite on the internet. Snake oil man is what I call him. He convinced half the country to go out and buy water filters because he had convinced the country that snake venom was being put in our water. And Brad Johnson laughed so hard, I thought I was going to have to do the Heimlich maneuver on him to stop him from choking on his laughter about it. You'd have to have about 1 million gallons spoke of that stuff for it to even make a dent in the water system of our country. But Stu, and his stupidity, I guess that's my new nickname, Stupid Stu. But Stupid Stu convinced the country that the elites were doing this, and we bought it. I didn't buy it, but individuals without a brain did. But he's the biggest anti-Semite. Him and Candace Owens, they're probably buddies. I don't know. But he went after this pastor tonight. We can talk about that. But regardless of all of that, if you can't condemn this, I don't care what kind of prophet you are, what kind of teacher you are, what kind of evangelical you are, what kind of pastor you are. I don't care if your church has got 100,000, you got 20 million views, or I don't care who you are. You're a soulless, pathetic individual that does not see the moral clarity of what's evil and what's good in this fight. Because this is a fight for life, folks. I'll leave that with you for a second. I'll be back after this. Here is Gidon Ariel and the Mac Man from today, earlier. May this interview touch your heart tonight. It's been a sad day in Israel. They're mourning the loss of these babies. And there's, again, it's to add insult to injury. Now they're not sure where her body is, if she's even alive. You can't trust a thing these terrorists say. I mean, you know, if you can't trust a Hamas terrorist, a jihadist that wants to destroy your country and destroy everything around you, who can you trust, right? Here is Gidon, my dear buddy, from Jerusalem. Enjoy the interview. I'll be back with Jeemes after this. Be blessed. And a good evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with you on a very special pre-recorded McFiles interview. We're so grateful to have my dear buddy Gidon Ariel from Israel tonight. It's a very solemn day, and we're recording this in the afternoon of the 20th. And we have already seen the images here this morning. It's been a very tough day over there in Israel. These hostages coming back, and it's really been a gut-wrenching scene for even us here in the States. And Don, we're so grateful to you to join us tonight. I know it's, as you told me, it's been a rough year and a half, but today's been a little extra tough on the country. I watched the video of the funeral processions and the people weeping, and I think that there was a lot of tears being shed over here too, because those grandkids, I looked at those are the same age as my two granddaughters, and I was just thinking, Lord, that could have been mine. With those families. But it's good to see you tonight, buddy, and grateful for such the short notice you coming on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. How are you?
Thank you very, very much, Chris, and it's a pleasure to talk to you also. And looking forward to talking with people in your audience also. Usually say this at the end, but I feel like saying at the beginning, please look for Gidon Ariel and reach out to me. I'm happy to be your friend.
Absolutely. Same here. Tell me a little bit about the mood today. I know it had to be very solemn. We'll get to the sort of the weeds of the politics and what's going on with Hamas, but I think the human side of this is one side that we can't understate. You had a dear family, this wife and the two daughters were basically slaughtered and murdered. Regardless of what Hamas is saying, I hold them responsible. It's not Israel's fault. Israel wasn't the one that kidnapped them and killed these hostages. But it's got to be, it's watching these scenes, man. I tell you, Israel, and sadly, this has been the plight for the last really year and a half since October the 7th, watching these images come in like this.
Yes. Yeah, Chris, there are no words to describe the feeling and to describe the actual instigator of these feelings. And I've been saying this already since the beginning of the war, that the horrors of the Hamas are, at least for me, second to the laissez-faire attitude that so many people in the world have about that. And it's just incredible that you can have people killing children and parading their bodies and little children in Gaza shrieking in glee when they see that. I mean, what kind of child wants to see a dead body at all? You want to keep your kids from seeing dead people? I don't want to see any dead people. It's a terrible thing, but that seems to be what they thrive on over there. And the people in the West that say, well, they're the good people, they're the good guys, and Israel is the Satan. Where did these people have any kind of morals at all? I just can't understand.
No, they got no morals to say such, and I've seen the same thing. We've got our social media platforms here, and I see a lot of that. And look, I just personally, Gidon, I don't think you can have a soul if you think the killing of innocent babies is okay, and you think that you cannot differentiate between what Hamas did on October the 7th and Israel seeking to defend herself. That is, to me, I'm just an old South Georgia boy, as we say over here in the South. That's just common sense to me. It's pretty easy for me to see who the perpetrator is and who the one that is defending herself. And you all have, this has been an ongoing thing beyond October the 7th. The nation of Israel has always had a history of her enemies coming against her. But I think what's happened is with the Palestinian uprising of the past few decades, my friend, the enemy has been in your backyard. And that's the difference with what y'all deal with and maybe other conventional enemies from a foreign country that comes into a country. This has been from within your backyard, that you're actually having to constantly fight people that you are living next door with.
This is something that I think that Americans don't have the penny dropping for them, and I've said that again recently many times, because America, the last time that they had a war on their own, in their own borders, on their own land. I think it was the Civil War. And of course, the Revolutionary War, the War of Independence, was fought on American soil. But since then, people got used to a war being over there, over there, over there. So if somebody had somebody personal to them, a loved one who was, God forbid, killed in action in World War I, World War II, the Vietnam War, then okay, then it impacted them, or even if they were only injured. But for the absolute majority of Americans, certainly in the time of the Vietnam War, not to mention wars since then and battles that the American Army participated in, people didn't even know it was happening. So when they think of a war, that's the kind of war they're thinking of. And so when they see that Israel is behaving differently than in their thoughts, then they look at Israel different. Well, why don't you behave a little bit nicer? They don't understand what war is. And that is something that is important for your listeners to hear. I'm sure that most of your listeners understand that. But the requirement, as it were, that the West, pardon me, that the Christian West is putting down on Israel. I would use the word inflicting on Israel, saying, you guys have to be more Christian. Why aren't you turning the other cheek? That's because they have no idea what they're talking about.
They don't.
And that again is a tragedy that makes us feel even more alone.
I bet. I'm sure it does. When you heard the husband, I don't know if you've seen it or not. He was out there blaming, and I don't know if it's the word blaming, but saying that Israel, the kids were already dead last year in 23. And just for context of our audience, for those that don't know, he was in captivity up to about a week ago with these same butchers. And just common sense, Gidon, just when I first saw it, first heard it, my first thought was, well, if I've probably got a gun to my head to the side, I'm probably going to say anything too.
That's right.
And but what makes that so bad is, again, the anti-Semitism over here in the world. They'll take something like that and they'll go, aha, we told you all along that even, the husband of these hostages are blaming Israel. And I think it's so sickening to watch this. And I think people need to realize that Hamas are liars, and Gallant is a liar. This left wing of the Israeli government is a liar. They're liars. They're bent on capitulating to this terrorist wing of the world. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are, because, look, I want to say it again, unequivocally. Israel didn't kidnap and kill people on October the 7th. Hamas did. These babies were being burned in ovens and women raped, kids raped, men raped by Hamas, not Israel.
Right. So what am I supposed to say to that? We in Israel have no choice. We really have our backs to the walls, that we can only do things in order to survive. And may the rest of the world be damned. If you want to apply your double ethics, your morals upon us, then how does it say in the New Testament? Take that beam out of your eye before you take it out of my mouth or something. You know the verse better than me. Help me with that verse.
Take the mote out of your eye while you're trying to get the beam out of mine, brother. That's exactly right. Maybe vice versa, but the idea, they get the idea out there. Let me ask you this: this peace treaty, and I say the peace treaty, this ceasefire is a better word. Do you think that when President Trump gave them the ultimatum last Saturday to turn all the hostages over, they're still doing this piecemeal? Ariel, Gidon, it's gotta frustrate you. It frustrates me, the number. I think it was 369 terrorists. There's even 49 terrorists, even with this exchange coming up Saturday. You're getting 6 hostages alive back. You're getting 4 more dead ones. You've gotten 4 dead today, but you're giving up 49 hardened terrorists that are going right back onto that battlefield. You gave up 300 and something hostages for the 3 that looked like they were out of a Holocaust. I'm telling you, man, those 3 hostages that came home, that was gut wrenching. And anybody of history, I'm a history person, and I've studied the Holocaust all my life, and I've studied it, and I've looked at the reaction of the West and the reaction of the world and the horrible images. And I was looking at those, and I says, "My good, it looks like a page out of a history book." And that was done on purpose. Hamas did this on purpose. And my question is a blunt one. How long can Israel keep doing this, man, without just obliterating and moving? Is it the political winds that are keeping her from doing this, or is it something more? Or I mean, when does Israel just say screw the world and we've got an enemy here and they've got to be eliminated? Because I think the clock's ticking that's got to happen soon.
Hard for me to say. I personally, I find it difficult to follow every piece of news, every morsel of news about what's going on with the hostages. So I don't know exactly how many are considered dead and how many might be alive and how many are for sure alive. It's very hard to tell. And I'm certainly not going to suggest that I know what is going to happen. But there's a very strong lobby in Israel to consider every soldier, certainly every hostage, as our relative, as our son, as our daughter, and our grandfather. And of course, it's true. But the problem is that people don't hear enough and don't say enough how not only are the hostages our children, but everybody else in this country is our children. And we have to think a little bit beyond our noses of right now to say, well, let's just, we lost this. Let's get our people back and give the Hamas whatever they want. Where did that come from? And think just one day after that. So on the other hand, it's just too strong of a lobby. You know, when a hostage's family member comes out strong and says, "I'm not moving here until whatever," what are you gonna do? You're gonna shoot at them with a water pistol or something? You can't do anything to them. You have to just. I want to tell you something else. Every single meeting of every committee and subcommittee in the Knesset, a member of a family of a hostage is there and says, "Before you guys get to your business, I want to talk," and they let them talk. Imagine how strong that is impacting our country, impacting our very government. It's very, very difficult. I frankly I don't understand how they let it happen. But when somebody comes and says, "My brother or my cousin is in Gaza, and you're not going to let me do whatever I want," nobody can stand in front of that.
What's your personal thoughts on President Trump's vision for Gaza of the United States taking it over and then turning it back over to Israel, like building it back up, trying to get something, constructive out of this place that is turned into a little hellhole by the situation there? But are you optimistic that this can maybe bring some sort of peace over there to that region? And then you got Egypt to your south that's all of a sudden rearing her head. She has gone crazy, and that's another thing that Israel's going to have to worry about here, because she's making overtures that if this happens, that she's going to break the 79 peace treaty. And that's something that's been stuck in place for nearly 50 years, my friend. And that just, I guess that just sort of speaks to the instability that the Middle East is under. And you all are right in the crosshairs of this to many degrees, but it's such a complicated situation. But just your personal opinion of the Gaza plan by Trump, what's your thoughts on that?
I'm less worried about Egypt, because they are Egypt and Jordan, for that matter, because they are very, very, very much dependent upon America and the United States support and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So I don't know but on the other hand, they have a lot of pressure from other places as well. No, it's never a one-on-one play in geopolitics. It's always, I got a front over here and a front over there, and everybody's got to think of juggle them all at the same time. So with all the talk that Egypt and Jordan are doing, I think it's to show face for other Arab countries. But when push comes to shove, they are not going to be the ones to go against what the United States wants. That
Gotcha.
being said, I'm not sure what Donald Trump is saying. He said famously that we're going to build a wall with Mexico and the Mexicans are going to pay for it. You remember that?
I
Now,
do.
okay, so
I do.
you're guffawing. What did that really mean, and did it happen? I don't know. I don't, and I think that Trump keeps us all guessing. Stuff that he says that he means, stuff that he says that he doesn't mean. What is really going to happen? Now, when he sees the pictures of what we saw today, he said, "What the hell? Kill them all," or he said something like that. I'm not quoting exactly.
I know what you're saying, though. He did. Yes.
So he's basically saying, if I were in your place, I think he's saying, if I were in your place, Israel, then I wouldn't. I would just let it all rip. But just like Egypt has fronts on different sides, Israel has even more. So Israel cannot just do what the most horrified American who's just sitting on his TV sofa says, kill them all, nuke them all. Can't do that. I trust Prime Minister Netanyahu to sometimes make mistakes. He's only human,
Right.
but to have Israel's best interests in mind, and to do his best to succeed, and I think he's doing a pretty darn good job, and I trust him inherently.
Couldn't said it better. And I feel, as an American, I feel the exact same way about your prime minister. And our president makes mistakes, and I feel the same way about President Trump. I trust him. I know he's not going to get everything right. And Gidon, the truth of the matter is, this is such a complicated issue, because the truth is, if you killed every Hamas terrorist out there, there's a crop of them waiting behind this group. And it's not just about a terrorist group, it is a terrorist mentality. It's the Middle East. The world hates Israel. They
Yes.
just hate your nation. And I know there are some spiritual reasons why they do, but you all are fighting a much deeper war than just against Hamas. It is
Yes.
such a deep rooted animosity. And I'll just say it like this. I was watching. I said this on our program this morning over
Yes.
here. If I, as an American citizen, was to go out and kill a mother and two daughters, those two precious babies, just in cold blood, just slaughter them, Chris
You
McDonald would
get
be on
that?
the electric chair.
Of
I'd be
course.
I'd be in the electric chair. Hamas does it, and it's like the world is totally silent. It's like there's no condemnation of Hamas doing it to a Jewish family, but yet any country, any nation of the world with a civilized society, you cannot do that without paying a price, and mainly in some countries, your life. And you should in this one for capital murder. But it's like it's okay to do it to Jewish people because the world just sits back and says, as you said a while ago, no big deal. It is a big deal because those are
Right.
families. And that's got to
Right.
weigh on you all. And it weighs on me. I'm an American, man. It weighs on me watching it from afar.
I'm glad to hear that your moral compass is well adjusted.
It is. I see it. I see the evil. And it's sad that this is where we have gotten to in this society. It's just sad. Let me ask you this.
Right.
Where does the political winds of Israel fall right now? Does these images coming out, the more hostages that are released, how does the people of Israel, how are they responding to this? Are they getting more behind Prime Minister Netanyahu in what he's doing? What's the sentiment in your sense of the country right now? Where's the country at over these hostages? Because it seems
Look,
like the nation's pretty sickened by what they've been seeing.
yeah, look, you're asking a question. It's like somebody who just was in a car accident and he's in the ambulance, and you're asking him, well, what do you think about A, B, and C? Our whole country is in a terrible trauma from what happened today.
They are.
And I can't imagine that the public opinion pollsters would dare ask any question. They would call somebody up and says, I'm calling from whatever polling clinic. I'd like to ask you questions about politics. They would get the phone slammed down. Now is
Yeah.
not the time. So ask me in 2 or 3 days. I think maybe people didn't, but I think that it was a horrific Sophie's Choice, Hobbs, and there's no way that I can't imagine that Netanyahu would have run today any differently or any better.
Yeah. Do you think that these hostages that's remaining, and again, I know there's no way to know this for sure, but is your personal opinion are they all going to get more hostages alive back than dead? And I hate to ask that question, but that's a question that is asked a lot of me is what do you think where the hostages at? What are the state of the hostages? And we really don't know still. Even at this hour, we don't know the state of most of them.
I'm not sure. Again, I'm not. I don't have a check box on my wall over here to know the status of every single one of the hostages. I think we are now that these four have been released, of course, in caskets. I think we're down to something like about 70 hostages left, which is
Okay,
incredible because we started with about 250.
that's
People
true.
forget about that, but out of those, I think there were something like 35 confirmed dead. So we are already starting with half, maybe probably more than half confirmed dead.
Wow.
So even one live hostage is somebody that we want to keep alive. But I don't know how it's going to happen. I from the very beginning I didn't understand how it was going to happen. Why would Hamas negotiate with us when we're saying as soon as we're done with all these negotiations and we have all of our hostages back, there's going to be nobody left in Gaza that is going to not be open season on them. Israel is going to punish every single guilty person and every guilty party from October 7th. So if you know that you are a dead man walking, then why negotiate with anything? Why don't you say, I'll tell you what, just let me fly to somewhere else. But we know that Israel's arm is very long. Even if you would fly to Iran, if you would fly to Germany, if you fly to Syria, Israel will get you. So what kind of life is that? But then again, we're dealing with people that don't have the same thought processes of us. So it's very hard to say. I don't know what's going to happen. It's hard for me to follow. I do believe that this Saturday, from what you said, I do believe it's 6 live hostages being returned and another 4 dead ones.
Yes, sir.
Tremendous psychological pressure, terror being put on Israelis.
That's so
but
true.
When that's done, there's no more agreement to what's going to happen next. They're waiting now to do the so-called phase 2 negotiations, and I don't know what's going to happen because there's still going to be pressure. Even if there's only one dead hostage still in Israel, there's going to be pressure to bring that person back.
That's
Certainly
so
when there's still live ones, dozens maybe. I don't know.
Well, and
That's
again,
I don't know.
You're making good points and that's the difference in Israel and Hamas. Israel will go to the lengths of the earth to preserve life. Hamas will go to the ends of the earth to kill people. And I mean, that's the difference. That's the moral difference in the two. I do want to ask you a question. I saw a report this afternoon, our time, about Iran. They're saber rattling again, claiming that they're getting ready to launch a new strike. Is there any anxiety about your neighbor to the east? Because they've sort of been quiet in all this, at least up to now, for the last few months, 6 months, whatever, since they did what they did last year. What's your thoughts on Iran right now?
My understanding is that the reason they are quiet is because their proxies have been emasculated. No more Syria, no more Lebanon, no more Gaza. And the Judea and Samaria are taking quite a beating also. So we are winning on all fronts. And at some point, you've almost forgotten it. Israel did a military operation to
Right.
destroy Iran's anti-aircraft systems.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically we can go in there without any radars, nothing. We can do whatever we want. So I don't think that, with all due respect to some saber rattling that you heard, I don't think that that Iran is going to dare do anything right now, especially since, from what we've discussed before today, President Trump is hopping mad.
Yeah.
He's not going to want to deal with an Iran that's rattling a saber. He's going to say, "You shut up, and we'll talk to you. If you don't shut up, we're going to cut off your hand that's holding that saber."
And we're going to send you pagers. And there's an inside joke to that.
Exactly.
But anyway, that was the most ingenious thing I've ever seen in my life. I still laugh about it. I do. And I mean, I don't mean to be funny, but
I can't wait to see the movie.
I can't wait to see the movie. I can't wait to see the movie either, buddy. I do want to ask you a question. We got about 10 minutes here. The civilian situation. What is how does it make a person like you feel? You're a good man, Gidon. You've got a moral compass to you too. That's why I like you, and that's why I'm so grateful to have you on my show. But it's another thing that's bothered me with this is the reports coming out that, in this kidnapping situation, it was a lot of regular Palestinian people, a lot of regular Gazans that were involved in this. It was not just the hierarchy of Hamas, but these people were hiding these hostages. They were doing a lot of just as much evil to these people as even these quote unquote terrorists were doing.
Right.
And the media don't report on that a lot. But that goes to Israel's issue, the bigger issue of why there will never be a Palestinian state in Israel. Because you cannot put a statehood of terrorists in your backyard and expect peace. It ain't going to happen, buddy.
And people need to understand that and to accept that. I don't need to have my back against the wall when some BBC interviewer is saying, "Well, what is this going to do to the two-state solution?" Obviously, that's so important. People don't. That is a dead letter in Israel today. It used to be a big topic in politics. It used to be the dividing line between the left and the right. I don't know anybody who thinks that we're supposed to have a two-state solution. To Hamas, to the PA, the guy who's over there still in charge after 20 years after a 4-year election. I mean, what kind of people are these? Forget it.
They're not human. They have no soul whatsoever. Well, listen, it's been such a pleasure. I'm going to start having you on a lot more regularly. I've got a good Zoom call here. I do want to ask you personally. You got some good news, and I thank the Lord for your good news that you've got going on. What's going on with you personally, and just what you're doing now. And I'm so grateful for you. I'm glad to hear the good news about the family. I'll let you share that if you like. If not, it's okay. But there's been some good in the Gidon household, at least. And
I'm very happy to share. First of all, back in Sukkot, the Tabernacles, which probably was in around October, I think. I have 3 married children. 2 of them gave birth to my 8th and 9th grandchildren, respectively, within a week of each other. So that was wonderful. My older of my last 2 grandchildren, Yehonatan Tzvi, and my younger one, her name is Keter Bat Zion, which means the crown of the daughter of Zion.
That's beautiful.
So we love them very much. And my youngest daughter didn't so much surprise us, but surprised us with the timing, got engaged, and she is getting married hopefully on October 7th. I'm sorry, not October 7th, on April 7th, only a month and a half from now.
That's awesome.
So if any of your listeners are planning to be in Israel, give me a call and I'll see if I can put you on our guest list.
Well, I tell you what, if I can get over there that quick, I'll be the first to sit on that front row.
It'd be an honor to have you.
We're going to come to Israel this year. We're coming. And listen, I want to tell you, I appreciate you so much, and I know it's late, and I'm going to let you go, but I want you to we'll hang loose because probably next week or the next, I may get you back on because this is such an evolving situation right now.
Yeah.
And I lean on you a lot to give us an idea what's going on, and you've been a great interview tonight, and I really appreciate you, man. And just know that I know that it looks like that there is a lot of people over here that, there's a lot of anti-Semitism, but I will tell you there's just as many, if not more people like myself that we love your nation. We love
I know.
you. We love the Jewish people. And we see what's going on. And we don't see it through these yahoos in the media's view. We see it from God's view, and we see it with a heart of love. And we're praying for you. We're praying for these families. And this sad situation that happened today, it's hurt us over here too. And we feel your pain, and we're praying for you tonight. And I want to thank you for being with me, and I
And I want to
appreciate you
thank
giving
you,
me insight.
Christopher, and I'm very grateful for my friends, our friends in the United States and all over the world that do stand with us. And really, by standing with the Jewish people, the people of God, you are standing with the God of Israel as well.
It's so true.
I just like to finish up that I run a program called Root Source, root-source.com. That's like root like a tree and source like water. We are a platform for pro-Israel Christians and Jews to engage with each other. And we take that very seriously. So please search us out. Please subscribe to our free weekly newsletter and reach out to me, Gidon Ariel. I'm the principal of the organization. I partner with my co-founder, Bob Odell from Austin, Texas. And I hope that you will reach out to me and I will be able to be your friend as well.
We will, and I will see you in Israel this year, my friend. We're coming, and looking forward to seeing you face to face and shake your hand and hug your neck, man.
Amen.
God
Looking
bless you.
forward to that too.
You have a great night. Shalom, and God bless.
Shalom,
Thank you.
shalom. Thank you very much.
We'll be right back,
Bye-bye.
folks. Bye-bye. And we are back. I want to thank Gidon. What a powerful interview that was. I was sitting here just feeling really the presence of God listening to him talk. And that was a firsthand. That was today. We interviewed him this afternoon around 2 o'clock, and it was probably about 9 o'clock Israeli time, and they've had this day of mourning. And it can't get no more real than what you heard tonight, how they feel. And speaking of good friends, I've got my dear buddy Jeemes Akers on the line with me, and he knows that he is my buddy. And I tell you, it's been such a blessed year getting to know him and his family. And saw a baseball game with him last spring, and it's just been a fall. I guess we went toward the end of the year, but it's so good to see you tonight on the phone, man. Glad to have you back. I know we had you Tuesday, but I know there's some breaking news in the Middle East you want to share with us tonight. I want to talk to you. Before I do that, let me welcome you to the program again. Good to see you as always, and hope you're having a good evening out there in Ohio. What's going on with you tonight?
I'm just sitting here watching the U.S. and Canada have at it on the hockey rink in the hockey rink.
Are we kicking them Canadians again?
No, it's 2-2.
2-2. Okay.
After the second period.
Well, President Trump called the hockey team and basically told them to kick some butt tonight. So now I've got Laura Hunter in the chat room. She's from Canada, and she said that the Prime Minister of Canada told the Canadians to stop booing the national anthem, or not Trudeau, but the Pierre Talaver, and I love him. He's great. But hockey game to me, it's all played on that ice. It's not political to me. You just go out there and you kick the crap out of Canadians. We're Americans and we're rooting for our Americans. But anyway, hey buddy, it's good to see you tonight. I don't know what you heard of Gidon's interview, but they're mourning tonight in Israel. These hostages coming back, and you told me this afternoon there were rumblings that there was a terrorist attack that there was a planned one, possibly for tomorrow. And evidently what's happened tonight, those buses that blew up in Tel Aviv were actually part of the plan tomorrow. And I guess, I don't mean to make light of this. It is funny, but it's not funny if you start thinking of what could have happened. But some idiot in Hamas set the timer to go off tonight, and I saw one comment saying it was divine intervention, and I don't disagree with that. But instead of them going off in the morning when those buses would have been filled with civilians, they went off tonight. There's been no injuries reported, but Jeemes, you were concerned this afternoon. They were planning something again tomorrow, and with this hostage, at the very same time they're promising to release hostages, they were about to do something again tomorrow based on your sources. Can you tell us about that tonight?
Yeah, what I am hearing is that they had several timers and other things that they have found. They basically in Israel halted all buses, all trains, so that they could search them for bombs. And what they were concerned about was an orchestrated October 7th type event, a mass casualty event in Tel Aviv, and I think they found a few bombs. The reason that the one bomb, I understand, there was a passenger that saw a suspicious package. The driver unloaded everybody, took the bus to an empty bus lot, and it exploded there. And they have film footage of the guy that put the package on the bus, and so there's a massive manhunt now for him. But the Israelis fear that it was going to be an orchestrated mass casualty event with a number of bombs and various transportation entities they were all timed to go off at the same time. And so that was probably a couple hours ago that I saw these reports. I don't know what has happened. I know they're taking measures to neutralize the threat, and that Netanyahu was meeting with the security cabinet, the defense chief, and I mean, we live in a culture and society where we have sort of just dismissed the notion that there's true evil in the world.
So true, James.
And in my view, Hamas is evil. The forensics, they took the bodies of the kids after they made a public spectacle of the coffins of kids, and when they turned over to the Israelis took them to their forensic experts, and they found out that these kids, and one of them was 4 years old, and the other one was less than 1 year old.
Yes,
I believe, when they were kidnapped, had been severely tortured.
Yes,
while they were in captivity. And what group does that? Number one. Number two, makes a public spectacle of it. And number three, tells the Israelis they're going to release the body of the mother. And when the forensic experts start digging into it, it is not even that woman.
No, World Israel News is reporting tonight that she is actually alive and still in captivity. Now, I don't know the alive part, they've confirmed that or not, but they're reporting that they have had sources tell them that she is actually still alive in captivity. That's pretty cold, bro. I mean, look, these Hamas terrorists are a bunch of cold you-know-whats, but that is a level of evil and wickedness that there's no words for that. There's just no words for that.
I tell you, it's bouncing back on them, because there were reports today that the Grand Mufti in Saudi Arabia said, Allah is absolutely insulted by the way they treated the bodies of the kids and the public spectacle they made of it. So they are starting to lose some credibility in the Arab world. They probably have more credibility among some wacko student groups in this country than they have in the Arab world these days. It's just amazing what is going on.
What do you think about this report? 602 terrorists are going to be released by Israel overall as part of the ceasefire. James, I think that is of all the things. Now, look, I am not going to be a Monday morning quarterback, because I'm not Bibi Netanyahu, and we just had Gidon on, and one of the things that he stressed And he's always stressed to me privately, he's always stressed it to me publicly, that Israel will basically she will deal with the devil to save life. And a lot of this is that Netanyahu believes that it's okay in his mind to get 70 hostages back. He would be willing to give up 602 terrorists. I for the 70 families, and if those hostages are still alive, I understand that. But you are dealing with numbers that those terrorists, unless they're driven out of Gaza fully, are going to come back and do this again, James. They're going to do it. I mean, I hate to say it, but I don't know if I make that deal. I just don't.
Well, of course, we are far removed from it.
That's true.
And there are political equities in Israel that are involved, and Netanyahu is walking a political tightrope and probably needs the release of the hostages, and is willing to pay, a devil's bargain to do it. And again, he is really in a tough position, just in terms of the political equities involved, and the whole idea that you give anything to these terrorist groups, knowing that they're going to turn around and do the exact same thing at the first opportunity in the future, and if all of this turns out to be a real threat, with the mass bombing type of thing tomorrow, only in a terrorist mindset do you go ahead with those types of plans while you have arranged a ceasefire deal at the same time. We would think that is so contradictory in logic that it's absurd. To them, it makes sense, and because it's not life that matters, it's the cause that matters.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, we are sort of stumbling into a world where everything that makes sense is turned on its head from what we in the Western world think ought to happen.
I'm with you, buddy. Now, Gidon's figures, he said that they originally had about 250 hostages. He believes that there are at least 70 now that are not accounted for. And in that 70, his guesstimate, and it's strictly a guess, he thinks maybe 30 or 40 of those 70 are already dead. And I know me and you don't, as you said, we're sort of removed from this over here. There's no way for us to know for a fact. But what's your gut? Me and you've talked about this 100 times. And it's just hard to read, man, what's going to be the fate of these people. But, I was talking to him, and the other sick thing, I'll give you point number 4 to the 3 points you said a while ago. The other hideous thing about this are the people that were cheering today, and the Palestinian kids and the Palestinian Gazans that were basically following that coffin and cheering and whistling in victory as Hamas brought those babies out in that hideous display today. That was the most ungodly. It just boiled your blood to watch it. But it wasn't just the terrorists, James. This is the thing that people don't need to forget. I think about 9/11, and that's a distant memory to so many. It ain't to me, and it ain't to a lot of folks. But we have never, ever addressed the fact that in the Palestinian West Bank and in the Gaza Strip, they were cheering as those planes hit those towers in America. The people were cheering. People were cheering today for this slaughter. Israel has got an enemy within her border, James, that hates her guts and wants her destroyed. And that's just the bottom line. And there's no moral argument that can be made that that people is ever going to have peace with her, because they're not going to. None. Zilch. And the media's playing this up that This is all Israel's fault. The anti-Semites in the church are playing it up. It's all Israel's fault. You've got Christian voices out there that are sitting in silence, just like that the Christian church sat in silence in Germany. You've got people that should know better, that have no moral compass whatsoever. They do not see what Hamas did as evil. They're calling Israel the genocide nation. They think the genocide is on Israel's part. And when you lack moral clarity in a society, buddy, you get the things that we saw in Israel today without the world responding the way it should have.
Well, even in Nazi Germany, as absolutely horrific as that was, there were isolated voices that were opposed and hid Jews and did that sort of thing. We do not have anything that even resembles a single voice in Gaza.
That's right.
That's willing to speak up.
That's so true.
For the dignity of life for Jews. It is absolutely amazing to me, and it just goes to show that we're getting close to the end of time, and and the scriptures just predicted that there will be total lawlessness. Everything will be chaotic. Rumors of war constantly towards the end, and we're just it's like the scriptures we're reading today's newspapers. So it's just crazy what's going on.
I'm with you on that. Egypt and Iran. Gidon did not believe that Egypt. He thinks Egypt is too dependent on America for her to show her backside. Iran's a little different. There are reports surfacing this afternoon that Iran has made overt threats to Israel again. How dangerous of a situation do you consider Iran in this, since Israel's attention is on these hostages and on Hamas? Does Iran try to pull something? And are they behind this, maybe this stuff that happened in Tel Aviv tonight, you think? Is there a possibility that they were behind it?
There's a possibility that they're behind virtually anything in the Middle East these days. They're going through Turkey now to sneak money and supplies to Hezbollah. They'll do absolutely anything, and you've got to separate the Persian tendency to exaggerate from the reality of the situation on the ground, and so you have the Iranian Air Force commander that's talking about the Americans will never be brave enough to launch an attack on Iran, and this, that, and the other. When the Americans tried to sort of the show of force, the B-52s, coming into the area, the Iranians sort of scoffed at it and dismissed it. And, for a country that has had its entire air defense system shredded by the Israelis in those series of raids earlier in the year, it is. I just think the Iranians are walking on thin ice. Plus, you have the very beginnings of a popular uprising in Iran going on. There have been massive protests against the mullahs in Tehran and other places because of the economic conditions in the country right now. So there are a lot of moving parts that are happening when it comes to Iran these days.
It's very true. You will be back on quite a bit next week. I'm sure this is going to be a developing story, but I do want to turn your attention real quick to domestic issues tonight. Today marks the 1 month anniversary of President Trump's second term. My question to you: what grade do you give him? A to C, D, or F? But the second thing that was big today was Cash Patel cleared the Senate 51-47, 51-49, I think. The Murkowski-Collins vote no wasn't surprising. McConnell actually voted yes. But let me ask you this on Trump. What's your grade? I think that he has. I'm giving him an A plus right now. I think we've got the strongest cabinet, Jeemes, that we've ever had running the country. Really in the history of the republic. And my brother's, he's retired military. He's a very level-headed guy, and I talked to him Tuesday night about this, and we were in agreement that probably going back to the establishment of this nation, we have not had a unity of our government like we've got right now. In other words, it seems that this cabinet is all rowing with Trump, not rowing against him. And it's being seen out there. Look, the Democrats have an approval rating tonight of 21%. And, brother, that's bad. Because if you're at 21%, you're even losing the left-wing loon bomb wing of the country, because that's about 33%. So they're not even popular among their own leftist crazies. And I attribute that to Trump. But I just think that we're seeing one of the most riveting months of a presidency I've ever seen. I mean, he's got more done in 30 days than Joe Biden got done in 4 years. And I'd say that between Bush Jr., Obama, and Biden in their terms, I ain't seen nothing like this in 1 month of Donald Trump's second term.
No, you asked me originally. The question was, what grade would I give Trump? I would give him an A minus, and the minus is, even though what you said is true, that the administration is probably more unified than that has been a long time, partially because Trump learned the lessons of the first time around, but I would argue that even though the administration may be united in the cabinet picks, that the government is as divided as it's ever been.
Certainly.
And the reason for the A minus grade is that I have seen nothing that would indicate that this is all of these many changes are going to be institutionalized so that the change mechanism survives the Trump presidency. And I think that that's extremely important, that he starts to do things that makes these changes lasting. And all of these things, everything he's done, basically, I agree with. I don't agree with sort of the rhetoric and sort of squandering political capital on ridiculous types of things, but in terms of the moves that he has made, every one of his candidates so far have made it through his appointment.
Yeah,
his appointees.
He's going to bat
That's
1,000.
important.
He's going to bat 1,000.
That's important.
Yeah, and Cash Patel was the one that I was most worried about. I was really worried about RFK Jr., but they cleared the hurdles. And look, these other people are low-hanging fruit, and the Dems, I mean, they're going to be Dems voting for these other folks, McMahon, and there's a couple other lower-level things. Do you think Elon Musk has? I tell you, I think one thing that has helped Trump a lot is Elon Musk and what he's done. And again, I listen. I have my ear to the ground a little bit, and I'm not a political junkie, but I have to be a little bit to do this show. But I have the sentiment out there is that this colonoscopy that is going on in Washington D.C. right now has been desired by this nation for 70 years, and I think people have been waiting for this for so long, and this is a generational desire to cut government out of our life. And I know that the Dems are screaming bloody murder tonight. But look, if the nincompoop down in Florida, and I've got another word, but I got to watch it. I'm on a family show tonight. That said in an ABC interview tonight that $5,000 ain't going to mean nothing to most Americans. I don't know what world she's living in. It mean a lot to me right now. I'll take hers. If she don't want it, I'll be more than happy to take her $5,000. Okay, because I think it's going to be very, very important to a lot of Americans right now that after the 4 years we've been through with the Biden economics and the joke was when she told the ABC reporter, she said, "We ain't got no money to do that." And I screamed at the TV. I said, "Well, why don't well, please explain why we don't have any money to do that? Because of your cronies spending billions of dollars to figure out transgender rats."
Yeah, the whole notion, and I think there was a CEO of what company was it? One of the big in the the defense industry computer sector was saying that the whole notion that you have all of these billions of dollars that were spent by the government that are absolutely unaccountable because they didn't include a treasury code so that they can't be traced, is just absolutely ridiculous. That we have the richest country on earth, and for all practical terms, we are absolutely broke because of the spending practices and the other things. And so that point, I think, hits with the American people. When they start digging, as soon as they're just in the beginning process of setting up the computer tracking systems and this, that, and the other. When they, as buried between and beneath layers as it is, when they start coming up with how people on the left and various Republicans have just absolutely padded their own nest with billions of dollars of taxpayer money. When they start to come up with that, I think it's going to be extremely popular with Joe Public in America when they see how their tax money has been absolutely squandered, and so the team that Musk put together is an important step in that process.
Yep.
Therein lies a little bit of a danger, though. The truth is, Chris, even though it has absolutely failed, that the institutions of government should have
found this out earlier.
This out on their own. It shouldn't have taken a team of technocrats to start digging in and finding this tremendous level of waste. And when you turn that over, you are circumventing. In one sense, you are circumventing normal government processes, and for good cause, because they have just so failed. But you do set up an alternate sort of technocratic layer that's responsible for the change that the government bureaucracy should have policed itself. Do you see what I'm saying?
Totally agree, buddy. Totally agree. I mean, I'm with you. Absolutely.
Of sorts in that we have the governmental processes that should work but are not, held hostage by a number of technocrats, and it's going to be, to me, over the long term, it's going to be very interesting how that plays out.
Buddy, I appreciate you being with us tonight. I agree with everything you said, and I think we're you're an A minus, I'm an A plus, and I just we're on board with where our country is right now. And listen, I'll have you back on soon. I do want to Mitch is leaving us, your neighbor to the south. You won't know what to do. Mitch McConnell's going to be retiring. You want to go down and move to Kentucky and run for a seat? I think you'd be a great replacement for him in the Senate in 2026. Just a thought.
Well, I helped a fellow run a congressional campaign years ago that I would sort of like to see him and others of his kind throw their hat in the ring. Mitch McConnell, early in his career, I thought did some extremely valuable things for conservatives. But he has been just a total disaster in the past few years, and he is the poster child for term limits.
Absolutely. Do you think it's his hatred for Trump that drove him to this, or do you think that he's just gotten to become a demagogue and just lost his way? Yeah, and I think some of it's his age too, James. I mean, he is. You can tell that he's very feeble, and I'm with you. The last probably 4 to 5 years, 6 years, the only good thing I have to give him one credit for was he blocked Merrick Garland from getting on that Supreme Court. And that,
right.
You have to give credit where credit's due. If it wouldn't have been for him, we would have had a Merrick Garland Supreme Court justice during the time interim between Obama and Trump. So
no, I agree with that absolutely, Chris. And McConnell, whether we like it or not, there is a core group of the grand old party, the old boys that did business in a certain way and sort of winked and nodded with their Democratic colleagues, that they were more in step with than these new people coming aboard that just absolutely hate Trump as much as the Democrats do.
They do. They do, buddy. I'm with you, man. Maybe that'd be a good discussion next week. Listen, I got to run. God bless you. Have a great weekend. And now, if the world comes to an end overnight, get ready. I'll see you back here tomorrow night. Okay? Just a heads up. Get your popcorn ready.
I'm always ready. Enjoy talking to you, Chris.
Have a good night, buddy.
A wonderful evening. And did I hear, before we get away, did I hear you say that you're going to go to Israel?
We're working on it. We are working on a trip, and we're trying to get some plans. My daughter-in-law is trying to arrange some things for us. We're going to try to take a McFiles group with us, and I've never been, and I would love to have you come along if you can. We're going to try to get a group, and but that's later on this fall. We're working on the preliminary. We're not even got anything set in stone yet, but it's sort of our desire, and I'm hoping to go by myself too once to see it. It would be a dream of a lifetime. It's on my bucket list at the top. It is at the top of my bucket list is to go see the Holy Land.
I would love to go. I was going to invite myself with your group.
Well, you can come. I need a chaperone anyway, so you can be my daddy. I'll tell him you're my father, and you can come be my chaperone, right?
I do a lot of writing about Jerusalem and the Middle East. I had one trip there planned, and it got pulled down. But when I was working in the community, but I would love to go to Israel with somebody that really knows the country, knows the biblical background, the backstory to all of these events in the Bible. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I would absolutely love to be a part of that, Chris. So if you get
that's what we're going to do. It'll be that kind of trip, and I'll be in touch with you. And Kathy and I would love to have you along. We would. Listen, buddy, bless you, and I'll be in touch with you, okay? Have a good evening, good weekend.
You have a good evening. Enjoyed the opportunity, babe.
You too, James. Talk to you later, buddy. Jeemes Akers, everybody. Put some fire in that house for him tonight. Now, we've gone an hour and 17 minutes, and we've got like a million videos we're never going to get to tonight, but I do want to play a couple of them. I'm going to take your questions. We've got a poll going in YouTube tonight. We've got a poll, what is your grade for President Trump? And we've had about 35 votes. It's interesting. He doesn't get any B's. All he's getting is A's and C's. 94% are rating him an A, and 6% are giving him a C for some reason. And so please vote in that poll. And if you Facebook folks want to chime in, you feel free to chime in over there too, and so forth. I want to play a couple of videos tonight. This was at Stephen Miller today. The big thing right now is that the left is screaming that Elon Musk was not elected. Well, Stephen Miller schooled the media. Now I'm going to do this. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go black just for a minute, and if you'll bear with me, we've got a. By the way, we're going to be showing you a new segment of our. We're going to be doing a new starting next week, March the 1st. Today is the 20th. We're going to be doing a this day in history part, sort of the show, and today, if we can get the website to work, the website may not be the best to do it with. But anyway, John Glenn became the first American to orbit the Earth back on this day in history. But I'm going to come over here to our screen, and we're going to play these videos over here. You can hear my voice, but this is Stephen Miller today with the press, schooling them on Civics 101. You got to love Stephen Miller. He's a good guy.
This talking point that Elon is not elected fail to understand how government works. So I'm glad for the opportunity for a brief civics lesson. A president is elected by the whole American people. He's the only official in the entire government that is elected by the entire nation, right? Judges are appointed, members of Congress are elected at the district or state level, which is one man. And the Constitution, Article 2, has a clause known as the vesting clause, and it says the executive power shall be vested in a president, singular. The whole will of democracy is imbued into the elected president. That president then appoints staff to then impose that democratic will onto the government. The threat to democracy, indeed the existential threat to democracy, is the unelected bureaucracy of lifetime tenured civil servants who believe they answer to no one, who believe they can do whatever they want without consequence, who believe they can set their own agenda no matter what Americans vote for. So Americans vote for radical FBI reform, and FBI agents say they don't want to change. Or Americans vote for radical reform on our energy policies, but EPA bureaucrats say they don't want to change. Or Americans vote to end DEI, racist DEI policies, and lawyers at the Department of Justice say they don't want to change. What President Trump is doing is he is removing federal bureaucrats who are defying democracy by failing to implement his lawful orders, which are the will of the whole American people.
And that, my dear folks, is what you call a beatdown of the press. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to come on camera with you right here. I'll get down here a little bit. That's what you call a beatdown of the media by Stephen Miller today. And I'll just give him an A+ on that one. Here is Adam Pencilneck Schiff today talking about Cash Patel before Cash got confirmed. You can tell Adam's a little nervous. I'd be nervous too. There's a rumor going around there was 254 emails between him and Jeffrey Epstein. Cash Patel said that there ain't going to be no stone left unturned when it comes to the Epstein client list. I hope he's right. I believe he's right. Roll the tape.
This is someone we cannot trust. This is someone who lacks the character to do this job, someone who lacks the integrity to do this job. We know that. Our Republican colleagues know that. The only qualification Cash Patel has to be FBI director is that when everyone else in the first Trump administration said, no, I won't do that, that crosses moral, ethical, and legal lines, Kash Patel said, "Sign me up." In the first Trump administration, as we are seeing in the second, you rise to the level of your sycophancy, and no one is a bigger or more dangerous sycophant than Kash Patel.
Let me stop it right there. Adam, I wouldn't be using terms you can't understand. A sycophant? Are you literally saying that with a straight face? You've been to the Epstein Island, bro. You got 250 emails between the world's biggest pedophile and you. And Patel's the sycophant? That's why your party's got an approval rating of 21%. Roll the tape.
This political hack does not deserve to be in this building. He can't do the job. He won't protect the public. He will misuse the resources of the Bureau. He will weaponize it against the president's political opponents rather than protecting the safety, the public safety of the American people.
Adam Schiff is the worst criminal in Congress in the last 250 years. And what broke that we're going to talk about right now is Adam Schiff met with a whistleblower. Adam Schiff went to the podium day after day after day saying, I know nothing about this. We're not going to discuss it. We're going to protect it. And then Adam Schiff, led the prosecution of the impeachment trial in the Senate of President Donald Trump. Talk about someone who was conflicted out of the game because he was part of the hoax that brought Charmella in, manufactured that false accusation, and then peddled it out to the world. And he continued, not surprising, he's lied about almost everything in his life. But now he lied just to set up a presidential impeachment. And that's what I was talking about, these disinformation campaigns. And then he should be investigated because he lied to the world about his interactions with Charmella, who is a whistleblower, and I can't stress it enough, that started a presidential impeachment. Yep. Now, your history is way better than mine, but I can't remember the last time a president was actually impeached. It's a significant process and escalation, and it's reserved for the time when it actually shows a crime, not when it shows the manufacture of fake information to show a fake crime. The guy that found and manufactured the evidence with Charmella was the prosecutor in the case against the target of the investigation. That is the ultimate, from a prosecutorial standpoint, conflict of interest. But he knew what he was doing, and he thought he would never get exposed. And I think thanks to, I think it was John Solomon and his fantastic reporting, we now see what I've been saying for years, that I thought he met with him for sure, and it will come out, and it now has.
And that is why Adam Schiff don't like Kash Patel. I'd be puckering up, Adam. I'd be puckering up. I bet that little backside of yours is puckering up tonight because there's about to be a toilet flush in D.C., starting with the FBI. And all I can tell Kash Patel is go all Elon on them. Go all Elon and clean out the orifices. I'm all for it. I'm sure most of you are too. Here is our illustrious vice president today, and I mean that very kindly and very affectionately tonight, folks. We got a good one. J.D. Vance has made that office of vice president a class office again. This is his comments today at CPAC. This is why I love J.D. Vance.
First is, I believe like the fundamental tenet of the Christian faith, it's not just a set of good moral principles, though it is that. I think the fundamental tenet of our faith is that the Son of God became man, he died, and then he raised himself from the dead. That is the fundamental tenet of the Christian faith, and I think so much flows from that. And I think one lesson that flows from that is that we shouldn't fear death. Of course, death is a very bad thing, but there are much more terrible things than just losing one's life, and importantly, you could lose one's soul. And I think whether it's fighting for the unborn or fighting for peace and security for our citizens, I want us to be the kind of society where my kids can grow up to be virtuous young people, can be good young Christians, of course, because that's what I'm trying to raise them to be, and that's what our public policy is trying to do. Creating the space where moms and dads can raise their children in their faith to become good young people who believe the things that I do. That is what I'm trying to create, is the space for you, of course, to raise your children as you see fit, but the space for me to raise my kids to be the kind of young people that I think they ought to be. And the other thing that I take from it, Mercedes, is If you look at the long history of the Christian faith, we've been around for about 2,000 years now, give or take a few years, and there have been really dark times in the history of the Christian faith. There have been really good times in the history of the Christian faith. And I just try to remind myself that we put our faith in God above, we put our faith in the grace of God, and we try the best to do His will, and we don't worry so much about whether we're going to have earthly rewards. We worry about whether we're doing right by God Almighty above. That's what I try to do, and that's how I try to run my life in public.
Now, folks, have you heard a vice president talk like that ever? I don't think you have. Dick Cheney didn't talk like that. Al Gore didn't talk like that. Joe Biden sure didn't talk like that. Mike Pence, he was supposed to be this raging Christian. I never heard Mike Pence express faith like that publicly. Kamala Harris kicked faith out of her rallies. We got a good one. It's why God's blessings is on this administration. Might as well take my Thursday night pot shot tonight. That's why all you people out there trying to figure out whether Trump's the beast or the Antichrist or not, I got nothing but disgust and nothing but shaking my head in disbelief that you be that plain stupid to believe that. But anyway, I regress. Way to go, JD. Way to go. Way to go. Proud of you, son. Proud of you, son. And those hillbillies are proud of you. Especially this one from Tennessee. Here is Malaya from Argentina tonight. By the way, I didn't mention it to James. I'll mention it to you. Argentina held a national day of mourning for the Israeli victims and those babies. And it's a lot due to this man right here. We're almost done tonight. We're going to pick this up tomorrow night because we're out of time. But this is Malaya giving Elon a chainsaw today at CPAC. This is awesome. And Malaya is a class act. He's turned Argentina from the brink of bankruptcy to a functioning nation again that's paying its bills. What a novice idea. Roll it.
Here's Malaya giving him a chainsaw.
There he is.
Look at this madman. I can't wait for the headline. Musk goes crazy with chainsaw at CPAC. My God.
Chainsaw.
I wouldn't give a liberal a chainsaw. Somebody might actually get hurt.
I think that's DC Dick Sword. It's off the Real Alex Show. That's pretty funny. Pretty funny. God, we need a chainsaw taken to DC, don't we? Here is something that's not so funny. It's very sad and sick. This is the caravan today that Hamas was doing with that casket. Come to find out, Israel thought the body of the mother was in this casket. It was not hers. She is evidently still in captivity tonight. But roll this tape. I want you to listen carefully to the people in the video. Watch. And the reason I played that, I'm going to play that back. That was supposed to be Cherie Bibas, the mother of the two babies. They hauled her casket out, and this is what I understand made Trump's blood boil today. But if you listen carefully, folks, the Gazans that were watching this, they wasn't in any kind of solemn mood. They were cheering and whistling in deep approval. That's where billions of your tax dollars have been going through the Biden administration over the last 4 years and other presidents trying to prop up the Gaza Strip. You can thank Bush Jr. for that one and Ariel Sharon. Roll the tape. They were telling the world that her body was in that casket. It was not. They are cheering and hissing in approval. Not good. Not a good look, but that is what they were doing. Here's another video. Children.
في هذه الحالة على وضع صور على كل تابوت وآخر، بمعنى أن المقاومة الفلسطينية تعرف هوية من في داخل كل.
The children were basically following the procession of the coffin in support of that. That's all we've got tonight. I've got more, and we've got a few funnier, lighter things to talk about. But we'll save them for tomorrow night, probably. I think it's good we do that. Here is a tweet from Alvina campus. We're trying to get Aviva. She's an author and a former UN representative. Argentinian President Malaya has declared a national day of mourning for the Bibas babies. Kefir and Ariel Bibas held dual Israeli Argentinian citizenship through their father. And those precious babies. And I want to salute Mr. Malaya. I've always been a big fan, a big supporter of what he's doing there. But he just continues to show us that the man's got a soul. He's got character. Something that a lot of our religious leaders over here in America do not have. And I'm deeply proud of that and so forth. Listen, we've been grateful that you've been with us tonight. We've not covered so many things. We haven't had a chance to talk about Ukraine, Russia. There's some developing news there. The Pope supposedly was on the brink of death today. Now they're saying that he is maybe going to resign because of his health. He's had double pneumonia. That's going to be a very prophetic event in this world. We're going to talk about that maybe tomorrow night. And there ain't no telling who we'll have. We'll definitely probably play Bill Federer's interview. We may go on a little early. It's Friday night. Listen, we love you guys tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show. We had two powerful guests. I tell you, that Gidon interview had me in tears just about. Had me in tears this afternoon, had me in tears listening to it tonight. You can feel his heart for his people and for those kids. And I hope he understands that we here in America, there are people here that in Argentina, I know Australia too, and other parts of the world, Canada, that we stand with Israel no matter what. And I don't have my, I'm going to bring one with me next time. But I always end the show, usually on shows like this, reminding you tonight, America is not mentioned in the Bible. Our future is not set one way or the other. A lot's going to depend on how we treat the nation of Israel. Because I will tell you this, and our Bible students will give a hearty amen to that. We were talking about that this morning. It doesn't matter how far away from God Israel is tonight, folks. When the smoke clears and the day is done, on this age and the beginning of the kingdom age, Israel will be standing, and she will be restored as a nation by God himself. There's a divorce that has taken place with God and Israel is away from him tonight. But there's going to be a marriage, a reconciliation of that marriage. She is the apple of his eye that will never change. America can be blessed beyond measure if we'll stand with her during these times. But you've got an element of this country, folks, sadly, the one big hindrance to that is not even politicians in the left, it's the church. It's church folks. They're not faith people. They're just religious zealots with no Bible knowledge and no understanding of God's Word about what it says about Israel. And some of them, the sin that they're doing is even greater because they do know what the Bible says and they thumb their nose at it and they go off on their own theology regardless of what the Bible has to say about it. And I'm going to say it again tonight, folks. If you have no moral compass, if you have no more moral clarity, than to understand the evil perpetrator of evil in this and the one that's not, you got far more problems than whether you're thinking that Star of David was a pentagram. You got far more problems than trying to track down the source of the Kazakian Jew crap. You got far more more problems than listening to your favorite prophet and your little favorite YouTube prophet and your favorite Telegram prophet and getting your latest meth fix from the internet on the latest word. You got a deeper problem. It's called your soul. When Gidon said what he said to me today, biggest compliment I probably have ever had in my life, when he told me your moral compass is right, McDonald. Because when I go out of this life, that's what's important to me, that God views me as such, that God, my faith is in Christ. I'm not getting into heaven because my moral compass is right. But when I stand before Him, I want to hear those same words and says, son, you spoke with clarity and you spoke with truth on this earth, and you didn't waver in the face of the whole church at large going just the opposite. You stood true. That's what I want to hear, is well done. And I pray that's what you want to hear too. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless this great nation of America. Our prayers for Israel tonight. Our prayers for our president on his first month in office. Let me just really quick, let me see what our poll is. We wound up with 69 votes. Nobody gave Trump anything but an A or a C. 96% said A. 6%, well, 4% said C. I wish we could have put something in there why people would give him a C. Not sure about that. It's good to see our folks from Australia in here tonight, from Canada. I saw Annie Jansen. Annie, good to see you tonight. She's from the Philippines. It's the morning over there now, so we got an international audience in the house. And we're just grateful for all of you tonight. We're not going to take your questions tonight. I'm done. We've already gone an hour and 39, so we're going to let you go. We'll take your questions tomorrow, the Lord willing. And may the Lord bless you tonight on this Thursday night, the 20th day of February, 2025. Our prayers for the nation of Israel and those precious babies and those families. Have a good night, everybody. Good night.